Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan, a special Inside the Birds. And it's special because we're getting ready for an Eagles NFC Divisional round matchup against the Los Angeles Rams in Philly. And Adam, we may have a development for this game that has nothing to do with either any injuries, any of the players on either 53-man roster, practice squad. We may have a weather-related development. Now, before you say anything, I know what
Mhm.
my iPhone tells me. I know what
Ah,
it says on the hourly update, but you, sir, Tropical Storm Kaplan, always seem to
right.
have the more up-to-date information. So let me have it. Are we getting a snow game or what?
Okay, let me explain. See, and this is like the best $10 I ever spent. Because of, playing outside and playing tennis and travel, I want to know what it's going to be like when I travel. I'm amazed. What was the Super Bowl? I don't, the first one I went to in Arizona, I was one of the few people that packed a jacket because it was going to be cold that week. I don't remember which one it was. Just remember, like, people were not dressed for cold weather. I know it's Phoenix, people don't expect it,
Mm-hmm.
but it was in the 50s that week, and I had a jacket with me. Some people didn't bring one, they got sick. Anyway, so I've always used this weather.com app, and I need hour by hour. So as of Friday morning, again, we know forecasts can change, but it's never good, as I told you, when the red parts during the game, when it says red, I'm like, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
So as of now, it's supposed to snow throughout the game, up to an inch, half an inch of snow, which is not a lot, by the way.
No, but that's what makes it fun, but not
Yeah.
necessarily it doesn't necessarily change the complexion of the game, which we'll get
Yeah,
into.
yeah, and up to half an inch, mid 30s, wind around 9 or 10 miles an hour, which is always interesting with those crosswinds to get the link, because the wind could be there could be unpredictable. As you know that from being in so many games and then being outside there, it could be tricky.
Yeah.
Also for the kickers, you gotta, that's never great. The Josh Carty kid's been a good story, the Rams kicker, and obviously Jake Elliott. Usually extremely reliable, not as much this year with the number of missed field goals, but so that's something we'll monitor. Obviously, closer to the game, we'll talk more about it for the pregame show. But the bottom line is, yeah, we could have a little bit of snow. Nothing like we had against the Lions, where it came out of nowhere.
Well, I was going to say,
Literally,
you say nothing like that game, but
yeah,
even that day, we
it
had
wasn't on the
no
forecast.
idea it was going to get that much snow.
Never, no snow is in the forecast. That's
Correct. That's right. None was in the forecast.
yeah. I know because I was not dressed for it. In fact, Jim Schwartz tells a great story. They didn't have. So what happens? It was his last year as the head coach, I think, of the Lions. So you have advanced weather. So you bring certain type of jackets when it's going to be snow. You like the parka, more of a parka type jacket. They weren't expecting it. It came out of nowhere. Shady's talked about it. LaShawn McCoy's talked about it. It was being there. It was I love snow, so it was like the coolest thing. But I don't like little snow. I want a lot of snow, man. I don't know about you, but I love
You
sledding when I
want
was a kid.
tuck rule game, right? You want uh,
Yeah, I think it's just
Patriots
beautiful.
Raiders. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that line game was because we were in the press box, like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
Like, wait, is it? And we didn't know how, because it wasn't in the forecast. It showed up on the radar late. Nobody could figure out how much it would snow, and then it just did. So, looking at this game on Sunday, at 3 p.m. by the way, which would be for the championship game the same exact time in Detroit, most likely, if the Lions win, which they should. That game also would be at 3 p.m. Eastern. But looking at this, and yeah, it could snow a little bit. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
I've always jokingly referred to that was a 2013 game, right?
Yes.
Where as the lakes effect because in Buffalo you have lake effect snows which come
Yeah.
out of nowhere. And there's that part of FDR Park where people go fish at the lakes. Like I got people in my family
Yeah.
like to go fish by there. It's the lakes. So I called it the lakes effect snow. It was just
That's
snow out
funny.
of nowhere in South Philly. Who knew that was going to happen? So it was kind of an unbelievable day. I do like weather related games. I think we all do. And I kind of like it so that it's
I don't want rain. I don't want rain.
no, that's what I meant. I meant
Hate
snow,
rain.
not rain. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't love wind. Yeah, I like snow games.
Honestly, I've seen one quarterback in NFL history tear it up in a rain game. It was Rich Gannon with
Hmm.
the Raiders. It was like a Saturday game at the old Meadowlands against the Jets or the Giants. I don't remember which game. And I know for fantasy, I had some interest in watching the game. And I'm like, how is he doing this? It's pouring.
Hmm.
I next time I see Rich, hopefully it's a Super Bowl. I don't know if I've ever asked him about it because I've never seen a quarterback tear it up like this. I'm like, this should not be happening. I
Well,
probably had Gannon that week. I probably benched him because of the rain.
those
But
University
anyway,
of Delaware guys know how to fling it,
yeah,
apparently.
UD, man. Yeah,
Flacco
UD.
played in a lot of bad weather in Baltimore. They just know how to
Sure.
fling
Oh
it.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so good stuff there. That would be a little side treat, I think,
We'll see.
for the
Watch it
spectator.
clear up. Look, honestly, I hope it clears up. I'd like to see what happens. But let me ask you this question before we move. I want to. The line is also interesting. There's a Barkley player prop I want to talk about before we get into the injuries. But let me
Mhm.
ask you this question. Um, just how you see that. Okay, you and I debated this. Okay, so Jeff and I had a talk on Thursday about what snow can mean because it's funny. So weather to me has always been okay. If it snows, I would always think the offensive players would have an advantage with the defensive players, but how do you see it? Or what you
Well, the only way we can see it for you and I is to ask people who played the game or coached in
Yes.
the game.
Oh yeah.
And most of the people who I've said have said if it's snowing but not windy, if it's just a wet field with snow, that favors the offense. If it's a windy, gusty, and it's been very
Yeah,
gusty here. I don't know.
I
I'll
know.
get to you on that in a second. I don't know what the wind is going to be like on Sunday, but it's been gusty here lately. When it's gusty, of course, that does not favor um, the offense because the quarterbacks have to fight the winds. It doesn't favor the kicking game if you have a
Oh,
certain area of
yeah.
the field. Yeah, it's really, but it's equally bad for both. But obviously, if it's snowing and the field's wet, because it's not rain, people will tell you you're not distracted by it as much, so you can throw the ball. In fact, I think I remember a game, Adam, where the Patriots played the Titans at Gillette Stadium.
Oh,
I
Christian.
think
Oh, they
Tom
got
Brady threw 6 touchdowns in that game,
Patriots
and
killed the. Yeah,
yeah,
it was over, and for some reason there's something there was something like either the Titans didn't have the right cleats. It was an absolute. It was a terrible game. Go ahead. I know which
right.
game you're talking.
And amazingly in Buffalo, where Josh Allen throws it on, I feel like every time Buffalo plays a televised game, it snows the night before and it snows immediately after. But during the game, it just doesn't say.
Doesn't
Once in a
matter.
while
Yeah,
you'll get one, but yeah, like during the game, no,
I always
no.
tell people it is completely irrelevant what happens before the game. It doesn't
Right,
matter if you get 30 inches of snow. It only matters what happens during the game.
right.
What are the conditions like? So, on your point, again, this could change throughout the game. It's a 3 hour game, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, 9 to 10 miles an hour. Now, on your point about you don't know which way the wind is going. Obviously, with rain, with precipitation, or if it's snow, depending. Right now, it's a call for snow about a half an inch during the game.
Hmm.
It's just so funny because the red little notations means that's the heaviest part of the snow, but it's still only who knows? Maybe you never know with this stuff because it could always change. They could change the forecast to 3 inches. Who the hell knows?
Yeah.
Right now, see, right now it's 1 to 3 inches on Sunday
Hmm.
and a half an inch or so during the game. But look, and by the way, the over-unders dropped 2 points. You should know that.
That's
You should know that.
interesting.
Yeah,
That's
DK
interesting.
was 45 and a half. Now it's down to 43 and a half. Now, is it because the Eagles really don't throw the ball very much? Is it because this is an outdoor game for the Rams? They're an indoor team? I don't know. I mean, it
Hmm.
depends on how you look at it, but that's what it is.
All right. Very interesting. You mentioned Arizona being in there for the Super Bowl. That was a second little quick topic I wanted to mention to you. By the way, was that the Giants Patriots Super Bowl that you were at? What you said in Arizona?
No, no, I was not. The Giants Patriots won in '07. I was actually at the Pro Bowl, my only Pro Bowl that I had been to Hawaii.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that one I remember. I
What was
remember
it? Was it
being.
Steelers and Cardinals? No, that wasn't it. That wouldn't have been
Yeah, was
in
that
Glendale.
'09? I'm not looking. I just happen to remember where I was for that great, unbelievable game. Was that
Yeah,
Strahan's last game? Strahan's last game?
it
Oh
might
seven.
have been. I don't
Yeah.
recall it. No, 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 no. The first Super Bowl was his last because the second Super Bowl they were in against the Patriots, it was
But
a
I'm talking about the one. Yeah, but I'm talking to the one in when
oh,
the
oh,
Detroit
oh, yeah, yeah,
undefeated.
the first
Detroit
one.
undefeated. Oh
Yeah,
seven.
I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
remember. All
Yeah.
right, either way, I was just wondering. The Arizona is an. I'm glad it's weird. You didn't know I was going to talk about this, but you
Yeah.
bring up Arizona. I know I've been thinking lately about how the Eagles beat the Rams pretty handily in the
Yes.
first game and what kind of advantage that gives them, just knowing confidently that they beat the Rams and it's the same team, basically, a couple of injuries here and there. But then it made me think about the 2008 year where the Eagles, after benching Donovan against
Championship
Baltimore,
game.
brought him back. Thanksgiving night, and they slaughtered the Cardinals. And so I remember when they played the Cardinals in the NFC Championship game as a young beat reporter in just my fourth year covering the team, right?
Mhm.
Thinking this thing's a cinch. They already beat the Cardinals. It's not like a division game where sometimes you see a win and a loss and a win, but I thought that there was no chance the Eagles were going to lose that game, but the Cardinals were better that day. And I don't even know if they were better because they were home, but whatever. They were better, and they won that game. So this is a little bit of the inverse where the Rams now have to be the one to win here in Philadelphia. But
It's
it'll
hard,
be
man.
really interesting. Yeah.
I mean, look, the Eagles, by the way, with DeAndre Swift and whoever was running the ball last year, they actually ran for over 140 against him. First game, Saquon had 255.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable that he had a 72-yard touchdown run and a 70-yard touchdown run. That's just, I remember you and I were texting, we're like, what's next? And then he did it again. It wasn't just those two. He had other great runs. This is just ridiculous. Oh, so I do want to mention this because I used to do the fantasy. I call them fantasy player props because the odds makers have gotten wise to this because they know where the offense goes. It goes through the running back. In 2022, it went through Jalen's hands and his legs and his hands. Now it's through Barkley. They got wise to it. 120, 129 and a half is the over under. The over is minus 115. The under is minus 110. I actually like the over though.
You like the over 120, so he's
I
got to
do.
get
It's a
130.
lot. 129. He's
Mm.
got to get 130. But you know what's really funny?
Mm-hmm.
I remember talking to Scott Farrell on this on Sports Grid to open the season. Barkley over under was 1,002 yards. I said, dude, he will have that by week 11 if he stays healthy. I have to look at what week he got over 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't expect him to play the whole season. He did not miss a game due to injury. That's unbelievable. That was the issue as
Of
we move
course.
along. It, it wasn't signing Barkley. It was like, wow, 13.5 million a season for a
Mm-hmm.
guy with this kind of injury history. But Joe Banner said it best. He goes, it'll be a bargain. Trust me on this one. And I didn't disagree with him. I understood his premise,
Mm-hmm.
but he agreed that you don't know because Barkley's injuries mostly have been lower body, high ankle, ACL.
Yep.
I know more than that. There are other lower body injuries, but I give him credit. Obviously, you start with him, Stout and Kellen Moore working together to design the run game and call it. And Jamal Singleton, obviously, is a great running backs coach. He's coached a number of NFL backs. He's really good. And then their strength and conditioning staff and Nick understanding Sirianni understanding how to take care of them. By the way, read Tim McManus's article, our friend from ESPN.com, who we've known forever. It's a
Great
great
story.
piece that he wrote.
It
Really good
was.
story on Sirianni and the connection he has with the players. Like, remember the first little note we had on Nick was, and I don't know what the hell it meant. The coach that I talked to who worked with Nick and with another team, he said he loves connecting with players. It means a lot with them. I'm like, can you tell me what that means? He goes, you'll know when you hear about it. He goes, I don't want to give it away. Let Nick discuss it. I'm like, okay. And then we get it. That's how you get a buy-in, by the way, particularly when
Mhm.
you're a high-strung guy like Nick. Guys got to understand you, and that what Mailata said in that piece, and other players I thought was great. Yeah, but that's the way you win over players when you're a young head coach. I thought that was a great piece.
I think my favorite part was right after his opening press conference, which, everybody knows how much of a debacle that was. It was done through Zoom, right? It was quirky. He went into the locker room, or I guess he talked to the guys at some point and said that was the worst introductory. He owned it. He laughed about it. He
With
knew
some
it was
curses, yeah,
awful. Yeah, it
yeah,
wasn't like somebody from PR had to be like, so Nick, I don't know if you realize this, but
yeah.
you're getting your first taste of Philadelphia now. Your press conference didn't go over very well, and he was like, "Really? No, he knew it. He knew as soon as he walked in. Like,
Exactly, he
oh my
did. But one
God."
thing, if we've learned anything,
Uh-huh.
is that do not judge a head coach by his press conferences, right? Dan Campbell was thought to be a joke, okay? Absolutely skewered when he got hired. That press conference, bite kneecaps, which I know you love. But because the suit that he wore seemed real cheap. He is he really authentic? Is he just a meathead?
Right.
Guys, arguably the NFL's best head coach, not just
Yeah.
because they've the roster. The guy's an incredible coach.
Hmm.
You got to have energy. You got to be able to connect him. By the way, he's another CEO and coach. He doesn't call plays. It works. This CEO, like, doesn't always work. Tom Coughlin had to learn the hard way. You got to be able to get your players to win you over. They almost had a mutiny with
Mm,
Tom Coughlin.
I
Don't forget
remember.
about that. You
Yep.
watch the football life. I mean, the players went on the record saying like There was a point where they hated Coughlin, and he had to change his ways, man. But Nick, to move this along here, Nick knows how to connect, man. There's a lot to learn about Sirianni. Yes, there's some stuff that he's aware that he needed to change his publicly stuff, which we talked about earlier this season. But moving on here, the guy's a great connector. The guy's a heck of a head coach. The record says it. It's not just that you can't just like, okay, well his record's great, but it's the players. It's not the coaches don't matter. Of course, coaches matter.
Yes.
We've been
All
talking
right.
about now for our 8th season.
Let's talk some Eagles Rams playoffs. Why don't we?
Yes, let's do it.
Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Right now on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, the Eagles are plus 450 to win the Super Bowl. What do you say, Birds fans? New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BIRDSPREGAME. That's code BIRDSPREGAME, all one word, for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in New York. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. By the way, I was thinking about what you said a minute or two ago. Have you seen the commercial with Nick Saban where it's like one of those, I don't know if it's Airbnb or something like
I
that.
love that. Laughed my ass
And
off.
because the whole Coughlin thing came to mind where,
Yeah.
the couple wants to check in and he says, check-in's at 9 and they go, yeah, it's 8:57. He goes, I know.
Because that's the
that.
Coughlin rule, right? But the way he said it, the rules that he set for the inn that he's managing,
Yeah, 2 flushes.
hilarious.
That's it.
Yeah, what is it?
Two flushes per
Right. It's just whoever wrote that commercial, great job. Like that was about
Excellent.
as good as you're going to get. Nick Saban is like a media guy now. It is really funny. Belichick, and I know he has to do it because he's got to act like he can connect, but he's got the young girlfriend. But hey, it's kind of funny. I mean,
It is.
It is what it is. But it is just kind of funny, and I doubt that he tweeted it or X'd it, whatever you want to call it, where he was recruiting somewhere, and it was like where a barbecue was.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot what said on his Twitter account. I'm like, there's no way he posted that. He had someone doing it for him. Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is the guy who said Snap Face and Insta Face and Snapgram. He's
Snapchat. Yeah, right. He's at there's he still does those videos. I guess they're probably canned or probably taped from months ago with Matt Patricia. Those are really good, by the way. I got it. And Julian Edelman's pod is really good. There's some phenomenal interviews he does with Scott Pioli's the last one I watched. There's some incredible because he knows the Patriot way, like he knows all the behind the scenes stuff. And they interviewed Ernie Adams.
I love Ernie Adams stories, man. This is unbelievable.
So real quick, tell him who Ernie Adams is.
Yeah, I'm trying to even think if there's a guy someone in the mainstream that you could. He's the analytics Wizard of Oz. He was for the Belichickian Patriots. I mean, he was so involved in game day, game management, analytics, all the stuff that you would think Bill Belichick was like, but really did know about. But you never saw him in typical Belichick fashion. Unless you were in the Boston media or really followed nobody could pick him out of a lineup. You could pass him on the street in Boston and half the Patriots fans wouldn't know who he was. But there will be people who tell you that he is vital to the success of the dynastic Patriots because of all the work that he did behind the scenes from an analytics standpoint and game management standpoint.
It's so funny how Bill he slammed analytics. In fact, he slammed his what's the Surface? Remember, he took the Microsoft Surface.
Yes.
And then you've got Barrage Nigerian, who was his chief of staff, who would make his schedules out. And filtered a lot of information. Bill, it's funny, and that's the Patriot way to be secretive. It's just kind of funny. The media there, they would out them over a series of years, but it's just kind of funny how things change. And of course, Big Dom, the security director, he's the only security director in professional sports who celebrated. It was his own T-shirt, which the team put out, by the way, for a great cause. But it's just kind of funny how Big Dom's a celebrity. Like,
There
LA,
needs to
Philadelphia.
be there needs to be a 30 for 30 on Big Dom. There absolutely has to be a 30 for 30 on Big Dom.
And I wish they get Butchie, his former boss,
Oh, that would be great too.
Luciano. Yeah, that he's a classic guy, as you know, from covering the team for so many years, who preceded Dom. But yeah, anyway, as we digress here, so yeah, this game is fascinating because I never subscribe. Like, trying to beat a team 3 times in a year is difficult, sure, but it's all about matchups. It's all about how you're playing, and it's about who you play and when you're playing them and all that.
Hmm.
The line is 6. It has really not moved. It's kind of open at 6, and right now it's still 6.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. We've talked about this matchup a lot. We'll continue to get into it on Sunday or the weekend. We'll have it out a little early, actually. Our Inside the
Yes.
Birds
Oh
pregame
yeah.
show, myself, Adam, Greg Cosell. I thought we just had a great Inside the Tape session with Greg Cosell. Talked about a lot of different things offensively and defensively. And I know that in that show, we were starting to talk a little Rams, and then we said, we'll get really into the weeds with that in the pregame show. So looking forward to doing that. Andrew DeCecco has debuted a new pod he's going to be doing throughout the playoffs, forever long they last, and then he'll do something similar in the offseason called the DeCecco Daily, where he's basically giving you, he does Inside the Locker Room for those who listen, which is sort of what he gets just working the locker room on a weekly basis. So usually a lot of interesting stories about guys on the practice squad or who they're playing on the practice squad to help the starters prepare, just different things. But he's also going to do stuff that, what's going on today at Eagles practice. So he'll be doing that. It's called the DeCecco Daily. So make sure
Love
you
it.
catch that. It may not be every single day, but it'll be as many days as he can get to do it. So that's a new part of the content that we're offering on
And by the
Inside
way,
the Birds.
what do you mean as far as they go? They're going to the Super Bowl, man.
Well, there you go. Then we got content every day. Yeah.
Yeah,
Listen, I don't want to be accused, all right, of two things. A, being negative, or B, being a jinx. Because no matter what we say, we're going to get
I
accused
know,
of one
I
or the
know,
other. So
I
I'm
know.
just giving out the facts.
It's so funny. I think most of the people who've been with us for this is our 8th, will be our 8th season coming up, but have been with us from the beginning. They kind of know where we stand on certain things.
Yeah.
It's always funny when they say we're biased. Over the years with me with Hurts, it's like, okay, I hated him, and I became an apologist last year. A couple guys killed me on Twitter because I was trying to make excuses for him. They thought, okay, which I was not doing. This year they can't make up their mind. Like, I could not be more praiseworthy for Hurts' performance against Pittsburgh. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
I got more people saying I'm a hater now.
Yeah.
I
You know
we
what I
call it down the
enjoy?
middle. Yeah,
You know what I enjoy about that is you mentioned the people who have been with us for a long time, and we
we
get to
appreciate
interact with
this.
them a lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
and we definitely appreciate them.
yeah,
I'll enjoy their reactions, especially the ones on Patreon, to what they see people leave on message board because we don't see everything, right?
yeah.
They think those guys, the people who leave these messages, the anti-Caplan and Mosher messages, are absolutely insane. And it's funny to see like people who are with us and understand what we do, and that we're not here to celebrate and cheer and just be, and that we also don't dislike or have biases against anybody.
None.
So it's fun for them to see what
Yeah.
we go through, right? And be like, man, those guys these people who leave comments are kind of nuts. And we're like, yeah, well, they
This-
also they listen to the content, so we love them. So
Yeah,
that we're
exactly.
happy
And
about
look,
that.
like
Yeah.
with Greg, it's so funny how some people don't understand what all 22 is. Greg does not evaluate play callers; he evaluates tape. He's not going to like his thing is he evaluates players. That's it. He doesn't really discuss play calling because Greg's always said that he and I don't see it quite the same way,
Mhm.
but I know what he means because you don't have access to the results. So it's like, okay, here's the play call. Probably pretty good play call. Up doesn't work. It's a terrible call. Because fans who don't understand the NFL at all, they'll go terrible play call. When it
Right.
was actually a great play call, the tape confirms it. The throw is off, or the receiver dropped it. The throw was great. You just when you have access to the results, then you can say anything you want.
Right.
Not like we heard what you said before the throw was made, or the play call was made. But it is what it is. Now, I don't always agree. I think you can evaluate play callers. I said it last week. The one issue I had with Kellen Moore is like if Jalen he gets off to this nice start. At least they were accurate. I mean, they weren't downfield, but he got off to a hot start.
Mhm.
Then it got away from him a little bit. It doesn't mean that you can't keep trying to get him warmed up a little bit, keep throwing the football. But I just don't agree with this limiting his throws. But this is what they're doing. By the way, he doesn't turn it over. I get that,
Right. They
but
have the evidence. They have the 22-10 win to say, well, we
I
don't care,
know,
Kaplan. We won the game, right? So,
I get it. Listen,
right.
it's Greg has said for 2 months now that how risk averse they are. Or Jalen is as a quarterback. That's why he doesn't turn it over.
Yeah.
But yet we say that in that Pittsburgh game, my friend who's got the Eagles as one of his teams for Pro Advance for the team he works for said that there were a number of throws he saw that were not typical Hurts throws. He was so impressed
Hmm.
because you and I talked to so many people around the league to get an unvarnished. What does it really look like to you?
Right.
And he goes, Hurts has not played. This guy said he had not seen Hurts play this well since 22. And I would argue the level of throw, because Hurts, there were a lot of games where it was pitch and catch because the league didn't know how to cover to how to play him. But I was just another thing is like if Hurts not gotten hurt against Washington,
Hmm.
who knows? Who knows what we'd be talking about now? But okay, it starts in practice. You coach, you call game to the classroom and what you see in practice.
Right.
And as the game unfolds, what you see. And you're right, they're playing a certain way. But the thing that we continue to ask ourselves is, what if they had to throw a lot? What would happen? I can't answer that. I could have told you what would happen in 22. Hurts would have thrown for 500 yards in the Super Bowl because he was that good. You know what I mean? But now
Yep.
you just don't know from week to what you're getting.
That's the beauty of the sport.
Yeah.
You know, we joked about the weather people. They get criticized when the weather doesn't go right or wrong. It's as if it's their fault. It's the same. I've always found being an analyst or a reporter in the sports media is the same way. How many times do we break down a game, give you what we think is going to happen based on what has happened and what we know and how we know the game is played, but then the game gets. I say this about the Washington Eagles games. They don't follow the script.
Oh
So,
yeah, you've
so,
said that
so
for
you look
you're
like a
right.
complete.
Never does.
We look like morons, and people say, "Oh, you said this, you said that, you picked this team
Yeah.
to win, you picked that team to win." Sorry, like I didn't know that there were going to be
Yeah.
4 fumbles in this game that nobody could
Well,
predict.
well, well. The
Right?
thing is, like, fine. People give you hell for picking against the Eagles,
Yeah.
like it's personal. You
All right.
don't. It's a feeling you have. I mean, Jesus Christ, what? But I
I would
get
love
it.
to see everybody's percentage of picking NFL games.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Oh, now I'm pretty good. I was 4-2 last week.
Nice
The
job.
Scott Farrell pointed out, not 5-2, dummy, 4-2. Okay, 4-2. But but in the regular season, I just have problems picking games. It's hard because here's the thing:
Yeah.
you don't know about motivation. You don't know for sure if a guy's going to play, and you just don't know what's going on behind the scenes about certain situations. Here, everybody's playing. If you could walk, you're playing. It's single elimination. It's coaches versus coaches, players versus players.
Right.
Simple,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
simple.
All right, why don't we get into some of the Eagles injuries? Of course, sponsored by our friends at Stretch Zone. Get your free 30-minute stretch by signing up for one at stretchzone.com. Gotta say, Adam, compared to at times during the year, this injury report for the Eagles is it's not something that people should be overly like majorly concerned about. Even when Dallas Goedert wasn't at practice on was a Thursday,
Yeah.
it was like and then you find out it was an illness. So it's
Yes.
which can be bad, but I mean it's certainly not worse than a pop-up knee injury or something or a
Yes.
hamstring.
Yes. Yes. So, okay, here's who's off the injury report. Will Shipley with ankle. He's important special teams. Devontae Smith with this lingering back problem. Now, he's not on the injury report anymore, so that's
Right.
great. Calcaterra hurt his shoulder 2 weeks ago. He's no longer on it. Not that he plays at all. Bryce Huff, who's been demoted. I don't know. What did he play? 2 snaps? 1 snap? It was either one or two
Yeah. I think it was two.
last week. What's that?
I think two.
Okay. Wrist surgery. So he's no longer in the injury report for the first time in several weeks, probably a couple months. So now, no new pop-ups for the first time. Yes, clap. Clap. No pop-ups.
Very
Kenny
happy.
Pickett. Yep, that's good. It's really cool because we've been burned by this. More ways than one. We'll tell stories some other show when we have more time about you know where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett multiple broken ribs, still on it, but he's getting better. AJ Brown with the left knee injury. We know he was laboring last week. Hopefully he's better. Here's what I did like. He worked on Thursday, limited, but he worked on Thursday, so that maybe he's a week better. Who knows? because if the weather allows it, you got to take shots. And the one play, Andrew talked about it with us on the roundtable show. Greg talked about it on the tape show. It didn't look right when he was trying to get downfield, so that's concerning.
Mm-hmm.
Not that Byron Young would play. He's the guy they claimed off waivers from the Raiders, but he's more of a future player for them and see if he can get the rotation. He is he pretty much would be available this week if they needed him, but they really don't. He started practicing last week. So that's when they started the 21-day clock. He's got this hamstring issue, which kept him out for a while, but he's working full. So he's a guy who a lot of people around the league liked, and he just never got it done. Boy, it's not a good. Was he a second or third round pick? A third rounder, maybe?
I think it was a third round. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see what happens. Ironically, the Rams have the other Byron Young.
Yes, the Rams have do you think they'll get together before the game and take one of like do a jersey or after the game do a
What do you
jersey?
think, Mike Francesa? I get that. I got that joke. Is that a Francesa joke?
Yeah, no, I honestly wasn't making a Giants joke. Is that what you're
You
talking
got it.
about?
You got it.
Do the
For
New
those
York
of you,
Giants and the San Francisco Giants ever hang out?
so what Geoff just said was that was a prank call, and I was addicted to the prank calls to Francesa. I got to be honest with you, on WFAN for years.
Shout out
And
Funhouse.
by the way, Gary Cohen, the Mets play-by-play voice. Is it radio or TV? Both? I don't know which one he does.
Oh, he's
But
the TV play-by-play.
okay, he brought it up. Maybe the San Francisco Giants are coming in. He said, "I wonder if the San Francisco Giants and New York Giants get together." And I knew what that was about. And he started laughing.
Why didn't Mike know that was a prank call? Like, God, how could he have not known?
Dude, one of the things I admire about him, for the most part, he'll take any ridiculous call
Yes.
and honor it when he really should. When it's obvious, as you're alluding to, it's a prank call. I don't
Right.
know why he did,
Maybe because he
but
knows it makes for good radio. I don't know.
I don't think so. Because I just, as a reformed prank caller myself, that's another story.
I can't believe you were a prank caller.
Oh yeah, dude. I was
Unbelievable.
horrible in my oh yeah, I teens in high school. I did. Yeah, yeah. It's another that's for Caplan and Mosher After Dark in June. Maybe we'll do
Yeah.
an off schedule show. But
Right.
yeah, so you're right. It's very late. No pop-up injuries so far, and let's hope Goddard's fine. That he works later today. By the way, it rarely happens, but we've seen some players miss games due to illness. Now,
Yeah.
regular season.
Yeah. No, big like Biadasz, right? The center for
Biadasz, yeah.
Washington.
Washington.
Biadasz
Yeah,
missed
he did.
week 16 or 17 because of it. Yeah.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
a couple other guys got sick. That's the thing you worry about, Adam. I'm glad you brought this up
Yep.
because all right, first of all, a lot of people have been getting sick lately. I'm not like saying deathly sick, but they're flu or flu-like symptoms.
Cold and flu symptoms.
Yeah. Andrew told me a bunch of the guys on the beat reporters have been sick. He himself was a little bit under the weather. He stayed away from the Novacare, by the way, when he was, I think.
Good.
But it is. And there was a game. Oh, the Notre Dame Penn State game. There was a report before that they played each other in the college football semifinal that there was a bad flu bug going through the entire Notre Dame locker room. So some of that sometimes I think it's blown out of proportion or it's like gamesmanship, but there's no doubt that when one person has it, you worry that it becomes like spread around the locker room.
Yes, yeah, you got to be careful with that. What they do is they send the player home so he doesn't get anybody else sick.
Yep. So that is it for the Eagles. Everything's pretty good for them. They are in solid health for now, and you hope that continues. Of course, our Eagles injuries presented by our friends at Stretch Zone. Get a free 30-minute stretch. Now, there's 3 ways to do this. You can do it on the website, stretchzone.com. You can go in person to one of the 12 locations Adam will tell you about, or you can call and you can schedule your free stretch around your schedule. No obligation. They're open Monday through Friday, 7A to 8P, and weekends 8A to 4P. Adam, tell them where they can go.
Yeah, and by the way, one thing, so the cool thing is they have a portal that when you become a member, it's so easy. It literally takes you schedule it, it shows you the names of the people, the practitioners, the stretching practitioners at each place, and you just schedule it around your time. You just said it on Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 8 p. By the way, I've been one of those knuckleheads who've gotten stretch at 7 a.m. only because when I had a tennis match at like 8 a.m. I did it. But I don't like making a practice. It's too early. And weekends, as you said, 8 to 4 p.m. Now, the locations, Haverford, which I frequent, near Suburban Square, and then Devon near the Whole Foods. which I also go to Exton and Whiteland Town Center to see my man Austin or Nick, Emily or Madison. Nick gave me an incredible stretch earlier this week.
Nice.
And by the way, you know the number system. It's 3, 5, and 7. I get what I call nines. I go as far as you can go, particularly with my quads, because for tennis or pickleball, or anyone who's doing anything athletics, hoops, as a former hooper myself in my 30s, man, if you can get your thighs or your quads done, your hamstrings stretched out, you feel like a new man or a woman. Trust me on that one. South Philly near Graduate Hospital on 25th and Washington Avenue, if you're in that area. Montgomery County, Elkins Park. Yorktown Plaza off your Aldrich Road, where I grew up. Upper Dublin and Dresher in the Promenade at 611. Where my man Joe, the manager there, is a former or assistant trainer. I think Joe told me for the Phantoms, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
Yep, great dude. He gave me. I remember that stretch a couple years ago. Feasterville, Lower Southampton Village, Cherry Hill on Evesham Road, where you go. Mount Laurel across from NFL Films in Centerton Square. By the way, there's some great pizza places there I'm going to try. I am on these pizza groups. I'm
In
crazy
Mount
for pizza.
Laurel?
Yeah, oh, in that area. Yeah, like I'm
Oh,
fine. In South Jersey has great pizza. I'm on these Facebook groups, right? I don't talk to it. I just see that the pictures,
yeah.
which make us salivate, and the promo, like it's great.
I
Sometimes the
found
owners
my
jump
spot.
in.
It took me a long, long
Go
time.
ahead.
I finally
Where?
found my spot.
Where?
Joseph's in Berlin. I'll give them a
Yours is
shout out.
brilliant.
They are
Okay. Okay.
fantastic.
Okay.
And as I
Awesome.
suspected, um, I think it's a couple that owns it, and the woman's from New York City, so that makes sense.
Nice.
The pizza is really good.
Joseph's in where again?
Joseph's in Berlin,
Berlin, New Jersey. Okay,
Berlin,
I'll
New
remember that.
Jersey. Yep,
All right, Franklin Lakes
fantastic.
on Franklin Avenue. I like that. Joseph's, I can remember that. Northfield on Tilton Road, Princeton and Nassau Park Pavilion, stretchzone.com to sign up. Feel like Jeff and I do. By the way, I'm getting stretched later today for my weekend tennis.
I'm gonna call you the human pretzel, man. Like you get stretched out more than anybody else I know. That's good. Good for your body. Good for your health.
Want to feel better. You got it. Exactly right.
All right, let's talk about the Rams and their injuries, and they're pretty good as well, Adam. I mean, usually when you get into the playoffs, you can see a list of like 8 to 10 guys, especially when you're coming off physical games. Both teams played fairly physical games. Now, obviously, Nakobe Dean was lost for the year. We didn't say that, but
Yeah.
that's already known. He's
Yep.
out for the rest of the year, and his spot will be filled by probably a platoon between Oren Burks and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. What I'm really interested before we get back to the Rams, I'm really interested to see, Adam, if the Eagles win this game against the Rams, does that platoon continue, or does Vic see enough in JTJ to say that might be my guy in the NFC Championship game? I don't think Vic wants the platoon. He's doing it because both those guys are really important to special teams, and he doesn't want to overwork them, as he said. So, and that's completely understandable. But I think he would like to have, like most do, your starting inside linebacker tandem. So I wonder if this one game also is somewhat experimental for Vic, and he's able to feel confident about playing one or the other full time against whoever they play in the championship game.
Well, if you look at the Dallas game in Week 17, Burks started. Actually, wow, he played the most snaps on
Mhm.
defense, 51 snaps, 82%, 51 snaps, 82% of the snaps overall. And then Trot played 23 snaps, 37% overall. So, however they want to do it, they rotate him, whether it's situationally, same drive. I've seen teams do it, and I didn't ask any coaches around the league about this, but I don't know why they do this. Well, actually, I could figure it out. Sometimes you see situationally, okay, well, third down, obviously, if it's a guy's not good in coverage,
Right.
you pull him
Steelers
out.
do
No,
that. Steelers do that with Peyton
oh yeah,
Wilson
that's
and
right. Landon Roberts.
Landon
Yes,
Roberts. Right.
yes. There you go. But sometimes I'm baffled. Sometimes it's not so obvious. But Greg Cosell, Greg had a great point. He loves Trot Jr.'s tape.
Yeah.
By the way, he did say this, and he didn't back off of it. Doesn't mean he's wrong, but I found this interesting. And in fact, I remember someone on Patreon asking why he felt that Trotter's tape was much better than Dean's in college, and he just goes by what the tape told him.
Hmm.
He thought that Trotter was a more fluid mover. Also, Trotter is better in coverage than Nakobe, which I sort of see
Right.
that
Because
because
Nakobe really wasn't asked to cover in
right,
college. He was mostly a
right,
blitzer on
right.
third and fourth down. Yeah.
So I'm fascinated to see how they do this, because
Mhm.
Burks has obviously played a ton more in his career.
Right.
So this is fascinating. I don't think we know for sure how they're going to do that, but I still think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and Jeremiah Trotter's other son is a young emerging linebacker in the college
Is
ranks
he?
as well.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Trot? Really?
His name is, it begins with J. It's not Jeremiah. I think it's
Okay.
Josiah. If I'm
Okay.
correct like that?
Wow.
Yeah.
I
So
didn't know
he'll be
that.
making if I'm not mistaken, he might have been freshman of the year in the AC. He played for West Virginia. What are they in now? I forget. ACC?
I know. I can't
Yeah,
fit
I know.
that.
I can't keep up with
It's
all the.
crazy how they have teams from the East Coast being like the
Well,
West
no, the
Coast
West
Conference.
Coast. Yeah, like
That
Stanford.
goes-
Stanford's in the ACC. Like, are you kidding me?
Makes
Stanford
no sense to me.
is in
I
the
know.
Atlantic Coast Conference. How does that make
How is
any
that even
sense
possible? It's about
whatsoever?
money. Yeah, I get it. Um, but yeah, so you want to get to the Rams injuries
Yeah,
here?
so go ahead. Go with the Rams injuries.
So okay. They sent me these. This is interesting because it gave them a scare, but he's going to be okay. So Tyler Higbee, who was killing the Vikings in the first quarter, he had a number of catches. He got sent to the hospital. He had went up being a chest contusion, and he had internal bleeding. And when you have that, it's got to get that's very concerning.
Mm.
But the cool thing is that he's fine. They're very optimistic that he'll play. Alaric Jackson now they seem to be optimistic. Alaric Jackson is their left tackle. He took all the reps on Thursday, so barring something happening, he's going to go. The ones who did not practice, this is the one they're most concerned about. Akilla Witherspoon, who is a guy who played in the Super Bowl before with the Niners. I know he's been a journeyman. His kind of career is kind of gone down not down the tubes, but he's just not the player he once was. But the guy's still a starter on the outside. They're very late at corner. This is when we do the pregame show. I know Greg said he wants to talk about this. If Witherspoon can't play, it's going to be Kobe Durant, who used to start, and Witherspoon took his job on the outside. Witherspoon has a hamstring injury. As I understand, they're pessimistic, but they're going to see if the treatment works. It's kind of all hands on deck when you got AJ Brown on the other side with his physicality and what he can do, even if he's 75%. That's a concern. So the one that they're really concerned about is Akilla Witherspoon, and their nose tackle Bobby Brown has a shoulder injury. They'll learn more about that, but the big one is going to be Akilla Witherspoon, who look he's got length. He's over 6'1". That's what you
Hmm.
need when you go against AJ Brown, his size.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if you were the Rams, you would hope to have you want size and physicality. I don't know if they have the kind of the speed or the quickness in the back end. They're going to have to get a good pass rush because they're just not blessed with great playmakers or great speed in the secondary.
No, but up front they're fast as hell.
Right.
Yeah.
They remind me a little bit of the Eagles 2 years ago when they went to the Super Bowl. They didn't have great speed. I mean, they had Bradbury and Slay. They had CJ Gardner Johnson, who's probably was their most dynamic, who definitely was their most dynamic player, and Marcus Epps. Of those four, I don't know if any of them ran a 4.2 or a 4.3.
No, you're right. They're
Yeah,
actually none of them are great. Yeah, although when Slay was drafted out of Mississippi State, he could fly
sure.
6 feet.
Yeah.
But now, as Greg has told us when he watches tape, he goes, "This is probably going to be." He didn't see him as starting after the season.
Hmm.
Um, Look, it's like we saw. He's not to the point where James Bradbury was last season when you know he had to be benched. But we say that, but you saw the play that Slay made on the pick. He was right there with the receiver for Green Bay, so that was a great play. So
Yeah.
he's the oldest starting outside corner at 34 years old. It's unheard of to be playing at that position this late.
Yeah, man. He's getting into Darryl Green range soon. If he plays a couple more years. So
But 40 years old. By the way, we shouldn't mention he is not on the injury report with the elbow.
that's
So
amazing.
that's cool.
Good for him. Good.
Good. Yep.
All right, cool. We're gonna just talk about some lineup changes since that game that they played against each
Yep.
other in Week 12. Real quick, we'll pause to hear a word from our great friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schiller, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
And if you happen to go into Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Jeff sent you. You will get a phenomenal deal. You will get great customer service. You will take advantage of some wonderful inventory. It's not just buying a car, it could be selling a car, trading in a car, anything you want. Fantastic people. It's a wonderful company. They do business with the Eagles. We've had Eagles on our show that have talked about how nice it is to work with Brett Shoulder and his staff. So please, skymotorcars.com or take a trip there yourself. It is definitely worth the experience. All right, the lineup changes since week 12. Here are the Eagles lineup changes since week 12. Yeah, that's
They've
it.
had a
Yep.
lot. Well, it's really interesting. This offensive line, if you knew what they're paying their backups, you're like, why? Like, how are they getting away with this? But Sean McVay doesn't give a bleep.
Right.
So what happened is week 12, Rob Havenstein, their right tackle, didn't play, and I remember Greg saying this could be a problem for them. Warren McClendon, who was a teammate of at Georgia, of course, of Jordan Davis and Carter and N'Kobe and everybody else that the Eagles have from the University of Georgia. So it didn't go well. And BG, that was the game BG got hurt, and BG absolutely killed him. It's funny. Everybody talks about Barkley with the 255, and rightfully so, but people forget BG. If you remember that first half before he got hurt, he looked possessed. Like,
He was
wow, this
killing
is
it.
ironically just like N'Kobe was before he got hurt in this game, right?
Yeah, that is
You said
crazy.
this is his best game, right? Didn't you say this past game was his
I
best
thought it
game?
was he was playing like he was crapping lightning that night. Like, I mean, he was just he was on another. He was just running. He blew up a screen. He blew up a run. He was just everywhere.
Yep.
And it's not like he
Yeah.
hasn't had good games this year, but again,
Yeah.
when you watch the tape, certain things just jump out. It's almost as if he knew the play before the play was being made, and maybe he did from his tape study. I don't know, but he was he was shot out of a cannon, man. He was playing great ball. And yeah, I remember Brandon Graham was wrecking the Rams offensive line.
That was one of the best games he's had in years. I mean, BG was obviously very good for the previous 2 years, but he was tearing it up. He was the reason why Nolan Smith was their fourth edge rusher. BG was he had a really good training camp, and he didn't practice a lot, but he was so great before he got hurt, and also kicked ass. And he has had. I just wish nationally Milton Williams would get more recognition. You can make the case that he should have been a Pro Bowler. I know the stats aren't gaudy, but everyone watching who's an Eagles fan, and I would say 99.9% of you are, and there are probably 30 Rams fans watching. Rams fans out there. My old buddy Rams fan from Sirius XM who used to call in. Milt Williams is a guy, number 93, who's the best player you've never heard of. He had 2 sacks in that game. He was also relentless.
Yep.
They move him around a little bit. He is one of the Eagles' best defensive players. He's just a phenomenal football player. And we'll say it again. Howie Roseman wasn't wrong, was neither is Tom Donahoe. Donahoe wanted Lee McNeil, Roseman wanted Williams, and both men are right. 2 things can be right, as you said before. They were both right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So go back to the offensive line here, right?
Yeah, yeah. So Havenstein's back. Yeah, he's missed a number of games. He's had a shoulder problem recurring. He's back. McClendon is backing up as a tackle. This one is fascinating. So Joe Noteboom, who take over for Andrew Whitworth after he retired, Noteboom also had a serious injury, but it hasn't worked over the years with him. He's been benched. In fact, it's crazy. So he took a pay cut to come back. He's still making $6.5 million this season. Alaric Jackson, who I mentioned earlier, who's hurt, who they still think will play, but Alaric Jackson took his job. But this is the one that I can't believe they're doing this. But again, Sean McVay could do whatever he wants. So Jonah Jackson, they signed not to play guard this season, to play center, and Steve Avila to play left guard. Well, Jonah Jackson got hurt, and then what's incredible is he never got his job back. Let me tell you about this contract. This is just insanity. 3 years, $51 million, $16.5 million the first year.
Oh my God. You know what? He and Bryce Huff should have a little powwow.
Well, it's 3 for 51. That's what I was just going to bring up. 3 for 51. They're benching guys making $16.5 million. And by the way, even if they cut him after this season, he's got a fully guaranteed roster bonus, so they're going to still owe him $8.5 million. And then $9 million, probably why they're being benched, because they're not going to let him get hurt, is there's $9 million that's guaranteed for injury right now, so they obviously don't want to be on the hook for that.
Yeah,
and becomes fully guaranteed in the third day of free agency. So obviously he's not coming back. They're either going to cut his pay severely if he wants to come back, or he's playing somewhere else. So as I mentioned, Avila is at left guard. Bo Limmer, the rookie, is at center, and Jonah Jackson's not getting his job back. I give Sean McVay credit. He's sticking by it. And by the way, it's working, and Jackson's the top backup interior lineman. And this is a small one. Jordan Whittington, who, when I was at training camp, he was a rookie at a good training camp. He's now the fourth receiver over Tutu Atwell, who dropped that touchdown pass against the Eagles.
Whittington's a pretty good player. He can run a little bit. Is he the Arizona State kid? He come out of
I
Arizona?
thought he was Texas. I'll double check, but I thought it was.
He can run a little bit, which
Yeah.
the Rams need. I mean, the Rams have good possession receivers. Nakua, I
He's not a
guess.
burner though. Yeah, he's
No,
universal.
I'm not saying like he's like
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy, but I meant of all the Rams receivers because they have Demarcus Robinson. They don't have guys that can
Yeah.
really stress you vertically.
Tutu, he's just
Well,
so
Tutu, yeah, but
slow.
he's so
Yeah,
small.
very
Yeah.
small. Yeah, that didn't. There's a saying in yeah, Whittington is a 5-year player at Texas. There's a saying
Okay.
about small players. They're small and they tend to play small, other than of course
Mhm.
Darren Sproles.
Right.
So that was the word about who's the guy from they drafted for the fourth round, in 17, the Eagles. Who's that little guy who never made it?
Jeremy Bloom. No, Donnell Pumphrey.
Thank you. Yeah, that was the guy. That was the word around the coaching staff. He was small and he plays small.
Yeah.
So Tutu Atwell's a second round pick. Ooh.
Yeah, look at Whittington's numbers. I mean, again, he's not a huge part of the offense, but if they do go, spread it out, he averages 20 yards a catch. So he's the one guy on that team that they feel like can take a top off or do some now, I know a lot of their receptions are
Not
yards.
this year.
They
It's
do a lot of-
13.3.
What
What?
am I looking
Oh, I
at?
see. I
Am I
think you're looking at.
receiving 24 catches, 22 catches for
No,
I'm
it's
sorry, you're right.
receiving yards per game,
I was
brother.
looking at something else. My fault. My fault.
Well,
13
yards
yards
per
a catch.
carry. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's what you
yeah.
call an intermediate receiver. He's kind of like, remember Robert Woods, ironically, a former
Former
Rams
Rams.
receiver.
Yeah.
So with Whittington, I doubt they're not going to play a lot of 10 personnel. They play a little bit. In fact, they played some against the Eagles, but they don't play a lot of it. Teams don't generally. But I did notice he made a number of plays when I was with the Rams at training camp for a day, and I was like, "Who is this Whittington? I never heard of him."
Well, he had to step in when Nakua got hurt and when
Yeah.
Cup got hurt,
Well,
and he played.
that's when they played 12. They were playing.
Right.
It was shocking. Greg pointed this out. He goes, "We know they don't do this, but they're playing 10 personnel because you just mentioned it. Nakua's out with his PCL sprain.
Mhm.
He come back a couple weeks before they played the Eagles, and he was still playing through it, by the way, when they played the Eagles. And what's his name had a high ankle. Cooper Kupp had the high ankle, and they were running out of receivers. They just didn't have anyone left.
Right. Yep. Yep. But that's the beauty of Matthew Stafford. He is a wide receiver maker. You put him if you're a receiver and you're trustworthy and you're on the field with Matthew Stafford, he will target you. He will find.
Well, let me ask you this question,
Mhm.
because I know this has been said.
Okay.
And I know we're talking about this in the pregame show, but with Stafford, early in his career, he would turn it over, super aggressive player.
Yeah.
But see, the thing is, you could be aggressive. Hurts was super aggressive in 2012. He didn't turn it over much.
No.
But yeah,
2022, you mean?
yeah, 2022. It was incredible. You look at it now, Stafford's still the same guy, super aggressive. But you know how like say, well, if he's throwing touchdowns for his own team, he'll also give you a chance.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say that.
I feel like
Yeah.
so that was like kind of a Brett Favre thing that but I don't think he's as reckless as Favre. He doesn't throw like as he's about to get sacked like Favre. He just throws from different angles and he does hold on to the ball until the last second and will take a hit. I think he's smart. I mean, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league for that reason. The only thing is if you start hitting him, yeah, I think yes, then you get to him because they don't have a great offensive line as we just outlined.
It's okay. I'd say this much.
Gets the job done.
They're hanging in there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They remind me of Green Bay's offensive line, although it didn't play very well against the Eagles.
Right.
If you went through their line, you go, wow, this is not very talented, but they get the job done.
Right. I just wonder, Adam, when you look at like
not against the Eagles, they didn't.
Yeah, well, when you look at all their wins, and listen, they just beat the Vikings. The Vikings have some good pass rushers, right? I mean, they have Grenard, who's a good player. They have who's the guy on the other side?
Van Ginkel.
Van Ginkel. So I'm not going to say that they don't face good defensive fronts, but their wins, the Cardinals, the Jets, the Niners were all beat up. The Bills don't have a very good defense. They have an okay defense. The Bills, the Saints, Patriots, Seahawks, Raiders. I don't know I think Crosby I'm not sure if he played in that game. Remember, he was hurt in the
Max Crosby.
Yeah, I think when they played the Rams that he didn't play. He did play. He had a sack. Okay.
Okay, because he had
But
a high
that's
ankle.
not the Raiders. The Raiders are a decent defense, actually. They just, nobody realizes it because
Great coach. I
they
mean,
stink.
he's
Yeah, yeah. Pierce does a
Pat
good job.
Graham's a really good coach. They
My
just don't have
point
a
is,
lot of.
I don't think they really face a defensive front nearly as good as the Eagles. So
Mm.
they're gonna have to do some things, I think, a little quicker and a little differently than normal to beat the Eagles. That's where I think that their weakness might be.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I know look, the Eagles have handled them the last 2 years. I know their schedule's been great. I get it. They won what I call, well, two quality wins, obviously the playoff game. And boy, that game against the Bills, which is the highest scoring game of the year, was absolutely incredible.
Mm,
Just incredible. The Rams won that game, but it's not like their defense played well.
no, it's not. So
Josh Allen absolutely killed them with 6 touchdowns combined, three running and three passing. By the way, have you made your picks yet? Or are you doing your pregame preview?
I'll
I know
do it.
that.
Yep, I'll do it on my
I
my
went 4-2. Went
nice
four and
job.
two.
Nice
What did you
job.
do? How did you do last week?
I picked 3 games and
Oh, I see. Best
I
bets. I
was
see.
1-1 going into the Vikings game, and I'm pretty sure I picked the Vikings to win that
So
game.
did I. I'm a
So,
dummy for picking the Chargers. I finally, because I refused to buy in all year.
mhm.
And I'm like, the Texans have been so bad and so disappointing. Not bad, but not disappointing. And Stroud turned it over, and then he made some really beautiful plays. And their offensive line has been terrible all season. I was just like, I can't. I think what happened in that game, because the Chargers defense has really overachieved under Jesse Minter. I mean, they didn't give it to the Texans got 9 points, not off of offense. They got a special teams return for 2 points. It was after an extra point, I think, and then they got the interception for a touchdown.
Mhm.
But I just cannot believe the Chargers, man. It's a bad sign. It's kind of like ironically, it's the same sign as the Packers Eagles game. When the Packers go down, the Eagles turn it over in week one, and the defense held. They held the Packers to 2 field goals. They're like, all right, well, they're in the game. And then when the Chargers went down there, and I think the first series, I think they might have had 4 first downs on 4 passes, something like crazy like that. I'm like,
Mm.
oh, they're gonna do just like I thought they did.
Yeah.
Well, they only got 6 points, and then they got taken. I don't want to curse, but taken to the damn woodshed. That pissed me off.
True, true. Who's the playoff team this year that's most likely not going to make it next year?
Oh boy.
Tampa?
Well, yeah, I mean that's. I mean they were the third seed, but they barely got in. It came down to the last game.
Chargers?
Yes, yes, yes. See, I think with Washington, they know who they are. They
Hmm.
can't go into the season with the same offensive line. They just can't. They've one stud. The
Right. They'll
coaching's been
add.
great.
They'll add. They'll
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
I
They have
agree
to.
with you.
They got to
Yeah.
give Daniels receivers. Like the Adam Peters knows this.
Hmm.
I would say. I would say that. Oh, you know what? Who it would be? Denver. I can't. I put it. I get that one wrong. I didn't see that at all. I couldn't believe
That's
the
fair.
over.
Be the Broncos.
By
Yeah.
the way, their over under total was 5.5. That one, and I said under because Scott Farrell and I gave our picks.
Uh-huh.
We both love the Steelers over at 7.5. We said this is the dumbest thing we'd ever seen. They because Mike Tomlin, by the way, has never had a losing season. Like, how are you going to give him 7.5 wins?
Right. Right.
15 years.
By the way,
Remember that.
to your and listen, the coaching staff is great, but you never know when Stafford's going to call it quits, and it could be the Rams.
Oh, that's right. They don't have a future
Yeah,
quarterback.
they've made the playoffs the last 2 years on sort of like on
Um,
toothpicks and gum and putting it
Oh, I
down with
got
their
one for you.
roster.
Yeah, I got one for you. Minnesota, because they got to figure out a quarterback.
Good one.
That came out of absolute bleeping nowhere. That was the one that I don't even think the Vikings saw.
Right. Plus, they might lose Flores, so that's a
Yeah,
good,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. He's
yeah.
he's unreal, man. He is. I mean, and I know that it wasn't good last week, but you could thank your quarterback for staring down his pass targets. That was bad. Darn. Look, I know their line isn't very good. Okay, I get it. But watch the game closely. Watch Darnold stare and hold. I know he's trying to make plays, but you can't do that. You got to play with a clock in your head. Boy, who knows how much he's cost himself, but the last 2 games were dreadful for him.
No doubt about it. All right, we'll wrap this up on Sunday or this weekend when we have Inside the Birds pregame show. Myself, Adam, Greg Cosell. We'll have a ton of more coverage leading up to Eagles against the Rams. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel and content. Man, is anybody putting out more content than us? A wide array and diversity of content as much as we are. A two-person company, basically, right? No shout out to Josh, our third behind the scenes guy. But no, it's been a great week, and we look forward to giving everybody even more content and more coverage as we go along. So, as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds. Be sure to check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation.